Briefing room.
Yeah.
What are you doing in the situation room? How do you know?
Okay. He said that President Trump was sometimes frustrated because every time a deal between Israel and Lebanon was close, Israel would launch some sort of bomb that would kill a number of civilians in Beirut, and it didn't seem to be productive. A lot of Republicans thought that those comments were inappropriate in Congress. I mean, what do you think of those comments?
So one of the things that was happening, we actually have been able to do this. Last Friday, we restarted this monitoring mechanism that had gone dormant for a while. And what it does is CENTCOM is now sitting not just with the Israeli military command, but the Lebanese command. And anytime an incident happens, we're not taking anybody else's word for it. We can see the incident, and we can quantify what actually happened. So as an example, yesterday, 2 individuals in some sort of vehicle, armed, clearly Lebanese Hezbollah fighters, approached an Israeli checkpoint, and the Israelis actioned that item. A week ago, if that had happened, you would just have a news report that 2 people in Lebanon have been killed by the Israelis. Now, we have fidelity that we actually know, not because they told us, but because we saw it. And we saw the footage that these were 2 armed individuals that were not a part of the Lebanese armed forces who approached the checkpoint and as a result posed a threat. So that's a big difference from what we were getting just a week ago. Beyond that, I would say that today is we're a few hours ahead here, but today will be the 3rd day of 3 days of talks between the Lebanese authorities and the Israeli authorities. I think we had a very good day yesterday. I think we are very close in our hopes of getting a commitment of interest of intent between the 2 countries that I think begin to outline a promising future. It'll be a process. It'll take some time. It'll take a lot of work. But I can tell you that for the first time in 30 years, the sovereign government of Lebanon is speaking to the government of Israel directly. That's who we're going to be negotiating with. That's who we're going to be working with, not Hezbollah. Hezbollah is not the government of Lebanon. Lebanon has a government. It has democratically elected leaders. They have the sovereign right to speak and defend the interests of the Lebanese people. And what we want for Lebanon is a peaceful future. That's what everyone wants here. And frankly, I think we're going to have a very positive commitment of interest, whether it's of intent, whether it's today or in the days to come. We're working very hard at that. Hopefully today will be a day that can build on some of the things we were able to make progress on yesterday.
But did you agree with the Vice President's sentiment?
No, I already told you the process that we're doing right now, and that is we're going to know what's actually happening, and we're going to be able to make an honest assessment as to what's happening and what isn't happening. Unfortunately, over the last few weeks, there's just been the fog of not knowing exactly who struck what and where and why. I think that's now been confronted and solved, and so I think that's going to give us a lot of fidelity about this process.
Let's just put a fine point on this question. How wide is the divide between you and the Vice President?
On what issue?
On any issue.
This administration, let me tell you something. Everyone here is aligned behind the President of the United States, every single one of us. The President of the United States makes the foreign policy of our country. And our job, we obviously give advice, we give counsel, we give opinions, but when the President of the United States is the one who is elected by the people of our country to conduct our foreign policy, the President makes these decisions, and all of us on his team, every single one of us works in lockstep very closely with one another to execute on the President's foreign policy. Everything we do is because the President's made a decision that it's going to be done. And one of the things I'm very proud of, I can't speak for every element of our government because I'm not involved in other aspects of our government, but one of the things that I'm the proudest of is that when it comes to foreign policy and national security, we have no drama, we have no games. We have a group of people that work very well together and closely to execute on the President's directives, which is why I think we've had good outcomes and good achievements, and we're going to continue to have good outcomes and good achievements. Everyone has an important role to play, and everyone is playing that role and doing it in a collaborative process. And I think that serves the President well, and I think that serves the country well.
Of course, 2 of them are you.
On the discussions with Iran, sir, as the country's top diplomat, do you not want more of a direct role in these talks, which have been, until now, really led by the Vice President and
well, I think like I think that's just a silly analysis. So the Vice President is the second-ranking person in our government. It just shows you how seriously we take that endeavor. And we have a team of people that do work. I mean, I'm here today because they were overseas last week. We all have a role to play in this regard. So, I mean, I'm here. I've been here for 3 days. This is a key component of that. So, but that, I think that's a really silly question. The Vice President of the United States, other than the President, is the second most powerful person in our government. The fact that he's directly involved in this tells you the importance that our administration has given to this topic. So I think it's a very positive thing that he's involved in it.
Mr. Secretary, you know that all the threats coming from Iran regarding Hormuz, its affect maritime traffic. How we can end this, even if they didn't close it, but still affect navigation there?
Well, it affects it because they've been blowing up ships and they put mines. That has to be dealt with directly. A lot of ships are moving now, but we need to get back to what the Straits looked like before this conflict, because it's an international waterway. And that's what it's going to be, one way or the other.
Mr. Secretary, what are your concerns that oil sanctions relief for Iran could lead Tehran to use that funds to rebuild its army, to fund proxy groups, and what leverage does the U.S. have, if any, to stop that?
If Iran uses funds to fund proxies and missiles and all of that, then the deal's not going to work, right? We know that, but let's hope that's not the case. Right now, the only thing they have is a very short-term waiver for 60 days. And to give an opportunity for these negotiations to see where they can lead. I said it, and I'll say it again. If Iran is interested in making a good deal and a real deal, the United States was open to doing it. If they're not, then the president will know that, and he'll have options available to him.
NATO question, please. Yesterday we learned that a NATO chief said in Washington that actually some allies did indeed help the U.S., like Italy and others did open up their bases to American jets. Iran today responded, and they called NATO complicit. They are asking for, they're saying they are accountable for, this U.S.-Iran war. Iran.
Okay.
So, do you have any reaction to, first of all, the fact
Look,
that
we've always made the point that Iran poses an even graver threat to Europe than it does to the United States. Iran already possesses missiles that can reach parts of Europe, which is part of the president's frustration. Everyone likes to go around saying Iran can never have a nuclear weapon, Iran can never have a nuclear weapons capability, but the only one who was willing to do something about it was the president. And when he did something about it, he found allies that gave us a hard time about using our bases. And so, again, if you speak about the NATO alliance, one of the reasons why I've been a strong supporter of our presence in NATO is because it allows us these basing rights that allow us to project power and protect our interests. But if you're not going to be allowed the use of those bases by these countries, then it puts into question the entire alliance. And as far as the president's concerned, he thinks, and he's rightfully thinks, that Iran poses as grave, if not more, a grave threat to parts of Europe than it does to the continental United States. And when he actually stepped forward and actually tried to do something about it, he didn't ask these countries to send their military to join us. We didn't need their help. But he asked if we could use the bases, and some of them said no or gave us a hard time, which I think is not only what he's annoyed about and upset about, but I think, frankly, it creates a real cloud over the NATO alliance that I hope can be fixed. We'll
Sir,
see.
I have one
All right, I got to run. Let's go.
On Iraq, I'm just curious how concerned you are about Iran being able to consolidate control over a lot of its proxy militias in Iraq. And even as these talks are ongoing, what type of future threat that poses to some of its
again,
neighbors?
that's an example of Iranian interference in the sovereign affairs of another country, in Iraq. That said, they have a new prime minister. He's forming a government. We have good signals coming from him. He'll be visiting Washington soon to meet with the president. And our hope is that we will continue to stand on behalf of the sovereignty, respect for the sovereignty of the people of Iraq, and not interference from Iran. So that'll be a topic of conversation. We've engaged the new prime minister. He's spoken to the president on the phone already once. We're watching so far, there's been good signals and some good actions that he's taken in the formation of his government, but obviously some challenges remain. But it's something we're going to watch very closely. All right, last one, guys, because we got to get ready to go.
Just on the GCC states wanting compensation for the damage, how would that maybe look like? Could it come from the unfrozen funds?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to speculate right now as to how that'll actually be worked out. I just pointed out to you that is one of the things they raised in our meeting today. It's one of the things they're interested in, and one of the things that I think we're going to have to address at some point. But we haven't really worked through any of the particulars of that yet. Okay?
Something about Russia before you go.
About who?
Russia is accusing the U.S. of failing to deliver on quote-unquote agreements that or understanding that we had in Alaska.
Yeah.
Can you please,
There was no agreement in Alaska. There was a proposal in Alaska, but there was no agreement in Alaska. If there had been an agreement, we would have had an end of the war. So, as I said, the president is prepared, as the United States remains prepared to play whatever constructive role we can to bring about, an enduring end to this war in Ukraine, and which has been bloody. 20,000 soldiers killed every month, 5,000 a week, most of them Russian. So it's been debilitating for Europe, but especially for Ukraine and for Russia increasingly. So we are prepared to step forward and play a constructive role if there's one for us to play in bringing the parties together and bringing that war to an end. That's what the president's tried to do now for a year and a half. But there was no agreement in Alaska. There was a proposal made in Alaska, but it was never an agreement.
by Russia or by the U.S.?
No, it's the same thing you've seen publicly reported, right? I mean, Russia wants to.
से गुफ्तगू कर रहे थे। उन्होंने कहा कि खलीजी ममालिक ने आबना हुर्मुज़ में जहाज़ों से फ़ीस लेने की हिमायत नहीं की। सदर डोनाल्ड ट्रंप का आबना हुर्मुज़ पर दो टोक मौक़िफ़ है। आबना हुर्मुज़ पर कोई टोल टैक्स नहीं लिया जाएगा। उन्होंने कहा कि आबना हुर्मुज़ की सिक्योरिटी के लिए इक़दाम करेंगे। खलीजी ममालिक से मशरिक़ वस्ता की तामीर और तरक्की से मुतालिक गुफ्तगू हुई। ईरान को अपनी प्रॉक्सीज़ की हिमायत तर्क करना होगी। अमरीकी वज़ीर ख़ारजा मार्को रूबियो ने कहा कि ईरान के साथ मुआहदे में खलीजी ममालिक का तहफ़्फ़ुज़ भी शामिल है। उन्होंने कहा कि वेनेज़ुएला के लिए इमदादी टीमें भेज दी गई हैं। वेनेज़ुएला में ज़लज़ले से बहुत ज़्यादा नुकसान हुआ है। मुश्किल की घड़ी में वेनेज़ुएला के साथ खड़े हैं।